Are you making a small mistake in the bedroom that quietly leaves her disappointed even though she'd never tell you? What's surprising is that most men over 50 have no idea they're doing anything wrong. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're still relying on things that worked 20 or 30 years ago. Meanwhile, a woman's body, especially after menopause, has changed in ways many men were never taught to understand. A recent study found that 67% of women over 50 have pretended to be satisfied during intimacy, even though they still love their partner deeply. Their silence, I as in T, meant to deceive you. It's because they don't want to hurt your feelings or make you think you're not good enough anymore. That silence can last for years, slowly turning into an invisible distance neither person truly wants. As a doctor who has worked with many older couples, I can tell you something very real. These changes aren't a sign that aging is pulling you downhill. They're simply the natural evolution of the human body. And once you understand them, really understand them, you can create intimate experiences that feel even better than they did when you were younger. In today's guide, I'm going to show you 5 research-backed techniques that help you connect with her body in a deeper, more refined, and far more effective way. Every technique is easy to follow and perfectly suited for men in their 50 seconds, 60 seconds, 7 seconds, and beyond. Each step builds on the last, starting with the fundamental signals most men unintentionally overlook, then moving into small adjustments that can completely transform her experience. And if there's one thing I hope you won't skip, it's technique number 4. This is the one many older men are missing, a simple interaction that amplifies her arousal and emotional response far more than you might expect. Before we begin, if you're watching this at any age, drop a small number in the comments. I'm always curious to see the beautiful range of ages in our community. Technique 1. Read her body first. Before you think about techniques, movements, or rhythm, there's one simple but incredibly important thing you need to understand: how to observe her body. Many men over 50 skip this part because their minds are busy replaying familiar worries. Thoughts like, am I pleasing her? Or will everything work the way it should tonight? Take you out of the moment. And the moment you leave the present, you start missing the very signals her body is giving you. The truth is, women communicate far more through their bodies than through words during intimate moments. Her breathing, the way her hips subtly tilt toward you, the gentle tightening of her hand, or even the soft sounds she makes. All of these are her body's way of guiding you. They're like a map showing you what's working and what needs adjusting. A study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that men who pay attention to their partner's physical responses during intimacy are 82% more likely to help her reach higher levels of pleasure, not because they're stronger or more skilled, but because they're present. When she wraps her arms around you and pulls you closer, when her back arches slightly, or when her breathing becomes deeper, that's her body saying, yes, keep exactly that. On the other hand, when her body stiffens, when her sounds fade, or when her breathing becomes uneven in a way that doesn't match pleasure, that's your cue to slow down, shift your angle, or let her guide the pace for a moment. Reading signals isn't a skill reserved for men who are better at intimacy. It's simply the skill of being truly present in the moment. And once you learn to stay with her like that, every technique that comes afterward becomes easier, more natural, and far more effective because you're no longer guessing. You're connecting. Technique 2, start slowly. Once you've learned how to read her body signals, the next thing you need to understand is this: pace matters far more than most men realize. And unfortunately, this is where many men over 50 unintentionally go wrong. The most common mistake is starting too fast and too deep. It's not because men want to rush, but because they believe being strong is what creates excitement. But a woman's body, especially after menopause, doesn't respond the way it did in her 20 seconds or 30 seconds. Biologically, the vaginal tissues take longer to warm up, expand, and produce natural lubrication after age 50. A study from the International Society for Sexual Medicine found that women over 50 need an additional 15 to 30 minutes of preparation time compared to younger women. The challenge is that she usually won't say anything if you move too quickly, partly because she doesn't want to break the mood, and partly because many women believe, well, maybe this is just how things are at my age. But no, that's not true at all. With the right approach, her body can still respond deeply, warmly, and intensely. She just needs more time. Start with shallow, gentle movements, like a polite knock at the door instead of barging in. Give her body the time it naturally needs to do what it has always known how to do. Open slowly. As you gradually increase depth, let her breathing, her hips, or the way she squeezes your hand guide the pace. That's when the sensations become the strongest. This kind of slowness is not weakness, it's control. It's the sign of a man who truly understands the woman beside him. And when you warm her body up the right way, everything that happens afterward feels completely different, deeper, warmer, and far more connected. Technique 3, the power of contact and pressure. One thing many men don't realize is that a woman's pleasure doesn't come only from movement. Movement is just one piece of the experience. What creates deeper, steadier sensations is continuous contact combined with gentle, intentional pressure in the right places instead of relying only on the familiar in and out rhythm. Biologically, when you keep your bodies closer and maintain light, steady pressure, you stimulate both the surface receptors and the deeper pressure receptors around the entrance. These are often overlooked when the focus is only on fast movement. Research in the Journal of Relationship and Human Intimacy Research shows that women report significantly higher satisfaction when internal and external stimulation happen together instead of separately. I remember something very honest a longtime patient once told me. He said he always kept a steady rhythm and did everything the same as usual, yet things between him and his wife felt increasingly distant. When I asked him to describe his approach, he admitted he often kept his body a bit too far away, focusing only on the motion. After trying just one small change, staying closer, slowing down, and maintaining steady pressure instead of constant movement, he came back and said, "I didn't do anything extra, I just stayed close." And suddenly everything felt completely different. That story reflects the essence of this technique. It's not about strength, it's not about speed. It's about closeness, presence, and gentle but deliberate pressure. When your bodies aren't drifting apart, it becomes easier to control the rhythm, easier to feel her reactions, and easier for both of you to move together in the same stream of sensation without feeling rushed or disconnected. Once you understand the power of continuous contact, the rest of the techniques will start to feel much more natural. Technique 4. The strategic pause. There is one technique that's incredibly simple, yet surprisingly powerful, a technique most older men never think about: pausing at the right moment. This doesn't mean stopping completely, and it doesn't mean breaking the rhythm for too long. It's just a brief, very brief moment that creates a spark of anticipation her body responds to with even more intensity. Science calls this the reward prediction error effect. When the brain is expecting a familiar feeling but suddenly receives a small, unexpected pause, it releases a larger surge of dopamine. And when the rhythm continues again, the sensation feels stronger than it would have if the pace had stayed the same from beginning to end. In practice, this pause usually lasts just 1 or 2 seconds, but the impact is unmistakable. When you can feel that Shez sinking with you, her breathing is deeper, her movements more intentional, that is the perfect moment to slow down briefly. Her body will often react instantly by leaning toward you, tightening slightly, or simply holding you closer instead of letting you pull away. Timing is everything in this technique. Pausing too early makes the effect weaker. Pausing too late, when Shez already close to climax, can break the momentum. The sweet spot is right in the middle when the excitement is rising but not yet at its peak. And what surprises many men is that this technique doesn't require strength, stamina, or complicated skill. It requires one thing: awareness. When you pause because you're truly feeling her responses, you don't just amplify her pleasure. You create a deeper emotional connection. And that's something women at any age value profoundly. Technique 5, vary the depth and angle. One thing many long-term partners don't realize is that a woman's body adapts very quickly to repetition. When the depth, angle, or type of movement stays the same for too long, the nerve receptors begin to acclimate and become less sensitive. This is a natural response of the nervous system and has nothing to do with whether you're doing things right or wrong. It simply means her body needs a little variation to stay fully engaged. Research from the Kinsey Institute shows that shifting stimulation patterns can maintain higher sensory response levels by up to 67%, compared to repeating just one type of movement. What's interesting is that the variation doesn't require advanced techniques or years of experience. Even a small change in depth, a subtle shift in angle, or adjusting the pace from slower to faster based on how both of you feel can create a completely different response in her body. What matters most is intention. In the beginning, keep the rhythm slow with a moderate depth to establish a steady base. As the energy builds, you can gradually increase depth or shift the angle slightly to reach more sensitive areas. And when the intensity peaks, you can ease the rhythm again. These rises and falls create sensations that feel like gentle waves, never repetitive, never dull. What many older men find surprising is how even tiny changes can bring back a sense of newness, even in relationships that have lasted 20, 30, or 40 years. I've heard countless men tell me that a small adjustment in angle or depth led to a much stronger response from their wives. Not because they suddenly became more skilled, but because they gave her nervous system exactly what it naturally craves, gentle variety with a sense of flow. When you know how to shift the pace, the angle, and the depth in harmony with both of your emotions, intimacy stops feeling like a sequence of actions. It becomes a rhythm, sometimes strong, sometimes soft, but always connected, always present. There's something many people overlook when talking about intimacy, especially after age 50. Most discussions focus on technique, rhythm, timing, or stamina. But what truly shapes a deep, meaningful experience comes from something that seems invisible: emotional safety. A study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that when someone feels emotionally connected and secure with their partner, their physical response increases by up to 60%. Their arousal threshold rises and their physical pleasure becomes significantly stronger. In other words, feeling understood, valued, and safe isn't just a nice feeling. It directly shapes every physical response in the body. Working with older couples over the years, I've heard many similar stories. One wife, married for more than 30 years, once told me that the moment she opened up the most wasn't because of her husband's technique. It was the moment he placed his hand gently on her back and whispered, "There's no rush. Let's just go slowly." That one simple sentence helped her body relax completely, turning the entire experience into something deeper and more profound. For long-term couples, emotions form the core of physical intimacy. A woman in her 50 seconds, 60 seconds, or 70 seconds doesn't open up only because of physical stimulation. She opens because she feels safe, because she senses gentleness, because of how you look at her, how you touch her, and how you let her know you're fully there, truly there. The beautiful thing is that this doesn't require strength, special skill, or years of practice. It requires presence. When you combine that presence with the techniques you've learned, everything else flows naturally, softer, deeper, and far more meaningful than you might imagine. When you look back at everything we've covered, you'll notice that none of these techniques are complicated or require years of experience. They all come from the same foundation. Noticing her responses, giving her time to open up, staying physically close, pausing at the right moments, and adding gentle variation when emotions rise. When these 5 elements work together, they don't just make intimacy easier. They bring back a sense of connection many couples lose over the years without even realizing it. What makes these techniques powerful isn't perfection. It's the way they help you become a man who is truly present. When you're not worrying about performance, not trying to prove anything, but simply there with her, you'll notice a change in how she responds. Her body softens, she moves closer, everything feels more genuine, and the intimate moments become deeper in a way only couples who have walked through decades of life together can truly understand. My hope is that this guide doesn't just give you a set of steps to follow, but reminds you of the closeness you once had. Those early days when even a small touch could make both of you smile. Age may change the body, but it never has to take away intimacy, especially when both people nurture it with care. In fact, many couples I've worked with say that in their 60s or 70s, they feel even more connected than they did when they were young. If you found this helpful, leave a number 1 in the comments so I know you'd like more videos on this topic. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope that after today, you and your partner rediscover the warmth and closeness that may have been quietly slipping away. I'm your doctor, and I'll see you in the next video with more real science-based guidance to help you maintain the confidence, vitality, and intimacy you deserve.